why they did it. Busy trying to keep up with it.
Yeah.
Yes, you're here. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to call the special meeting of the City Council of City of Marysville to order today, Tuesday, May 26, 2020 at 5 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilmember McKenzie. Here. Councilmember Hudson.
Here.
Councilmember Simmons.
Here.
Vice Mayor Buttacaboli.
Here.
And Mayor Samayoa.
Here, thank you. At this point, I'd like to ask everyone to please stand. Can you join me on a pledge of allegiance? Ready, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll move directly to item 1, Community Development Block Grant related to the coronavirus aid, relief, and economic security, also known as CARES Act, to support local economy development efforts. Recommendations is 1, to pass and adopt the resolution, and 2, authorize the city manager or her designee to apply for and accept, if awarded, the grant, and to help support those local economic development efforts in the city. Recommendation comes from our Community Development Director, Mr. Jonathan Wright. Sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Do like the 5 o'clock a whole lot better than the 9:30.
We used to do it at 7
appreciate.
o'clock.
I know you did that for me.
We used to do it at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. So this is part 2 of the CDBG public opportunity. So we're taking public input at this time as required by the CDBG funds, so we can hear from the public and whether there's some input into what we're doing here. But in essence, we are applying for CDBG funds for a 3-tiered approach to economic recovery for businesses within our community. The first is developing a high interest credit card recovery loan program. I've already talked to Brenda from EDC, who will be helping us out to administer that should we receive it. So it takes the pressure off of staff.
How's that work?
What's that?
How's that program work? You say credit card recovery.
Okay, so it'd be taking high interest credit cards and debt that's been accumulated during the COVID-19 outbreak while businesses are closed or while they're operating and they're accruing debt, take it, refinance it into a 1% structure so that they're receiving the benefit of a much lower interest rate and probably much broader term structure than they would normally get with their credit card company. So again, taking some of that overhead liability for the businesses, reducing it, trying to figure out ways that we can creatively help our businesses get back on their feet.
Is it a reduction too, or just a longer term with a lower rate?
Longer term with a lower rate, just like refinancing a bond or something like that. The principle's still there, but then it would reduce the term and the interest to help save money for those businesses.
Okay, thanks.
Second is establishing a facade or outdoor retail. Actually, it says retail cafe program. It actually is a facade maintenance program in which we're applying for funds because during this pandemic, a lot of people that don't have the money to invest in their local businesses. A lot of people have seen downtown. We have broken windows now, whereas there's been some vagrant activity. There's outbreaks of graffiti, things like that. So we're using those funds to help those businesses get back on their feet, help clean up our downtown and our business storefronts. And at the same time, we can call it a facade improvement because a lot of those things will go towards enhancing the downtown, fixing up the storefronts so that they're in better shape and getting our community back up and running as fast as possible.
Okay, hold on. And how are those funds? Are those grants?
That would be a grant.
Directly to the
business. How I've structured them in the past is it's a 50-50. So they have to put 50% of the proceeds. We put up 50% of the proceeds. It works out better that way because then they tend to have skin in the game. It's not like they're just asking for something and then we kind of get not the product that we really want out of the businesses. It would actually be, and we would allow them to do in kind. So we have some of those small businesses that really just need a new front door and want to paint it themselves and those things. We can use their labor as an offset. There's a labor rate through volunteer services that we can establish that you know, it can apply towards that. So that would reduce their costs out of pocket considerably. A lot of people could even do a lot of the work themselves and avoid any cost whatsoever. So we'd be buying those materials for them. They would actually be doing some of the improvements themselves. I have not, depending on what we receive in the way of CDBG funding will dictate how large some of these grants will be that we can help people out with.
Are you also, is your office going to administer that, or are you going to have EDC also administer?
That would be something that would be administered by the individual that would be in here doing COVID recovery.
Okay.
So that would be through the Civic Spark program, having the intern that would be in-house helping us out. I've used our Main Street program in the past to do this type of thing. We don't have a Main Street here, so we could use a citizen body or a business group from our downtown to kind of be our steering committee or do evaluations on projects for this. But ultimately, it would be through Civic Spark. We have identified a potential funding source for it. I still have to run that to the ground, so that'll probably be coming before you here very soon. But it looks very positive. So all the pieces are falling into place. So that by bringing that person on, we have, you know, a multifaceted approach here with the amount of things we can offer. But at the same time, we actually have the bandwidth in-house to be able to accomplish some of these things. And like I said, whenever our last council meeting was, a lot of those elements in the bounce back plan were what I put out there, you know, for that person to get started on. So some of the cultural marketing, networking with businesses, the closed businesses, trying to figure out who actually owns those empty storefronts and getting people involved and trying to get people behind the glass. So lastly, this also says a business license sponsorship program. What we're proposing is a business sponsorship program in which it can be used for grant dollars to go towards fees that have been accrued by, for business type activities from the city, as well as going towards PPE and other recovery measures that they may need coming out of COVID-19 here. A lot of the guidance that we have, you know, has protective measures for both employees and for the public. So this will help them try to obtain some of those measures, mainly for the really small businesses in town, the little retail storefronts that are the mom and pop organizations that just are now starting to get back open and need that extra assistance. So
is that funds that goes to the business owner and then comes back to pay those kind of fees? Or is it something that we do in-house where they don't pay their business license, so to speak, and we do an in-house transfer with that money back to ourselves?
So they would apply for a grant and we would actually issue a waiver. If it was a business license, we would issue it to ourselves. I mean, it would be for a waiver for the business license fees. If they met whatever minor requirements that we had, you know, they weren't a large franchise or something like that, then we would go ahead and waive it. And then those funds would then be drawn upon to repay the city for those, because those are operating funds that we use in our general fund. And we want to make sure that we're sensitive to that, especially over the next year or so as we're recovering ourselves. The other thing was with PPE would be something that we would try to get information out programmatically about, you know, the ability for people to come in and actually request reimbursement, because we wouldn't actually go out and buy things. We'd probably reimburse the store owners, because it'd be on a case-by-case basis as to what they need and looking at what those needs are, addressing them, and then reimbursing them for dollars out of pocket.
So the key, I guess, is also that it's not going to affect our general fund.
Correct. There's no match required for CDBG funds. There will be some staff time, but as with all of them, there's some staff involvement. Again, we're going to try to offset most of the programmatic costs through an internship with Civic Spark.
I guess I'm talking about the fees and for the license fees and all that. Like, for example, if we were just to waive it without having these funds available,
That'd be a $160,000 hit to our general fund immediately.
Through the chair.
Yes.
The CDBG grant, is any jobs tied to this?
So it's all economic recovery or economic development. So the argument that we're making, or the application that we're putting out there, is that we are trying to retain jobs within our community by supporting local businesses, so that those ones that may be considering closing or maybe on the verge of closing, that we can get in there and save them before they get to that point. So we're retaining local jobs. Obviously, a strong local economy grows jobs, and so that's the main nexus between trying to get us back on their feet, as well as, you know, enhancing local business operations, so that in the future we are much stronger after this.
So for every $1,000, it doesn't require to create one job?
or 2,000, whatever the case may be?
The nexus is job retention and or creation. Our argument is retention through local businesses. There's no formula that I'm aware of.
Yeah, there used to be at one time. I'm just curious, because that is probably one of the biggest issues about CDBG is job creation
Yep.
on loans.
And we can argue that, that
Not we argue.
we can argue that we're creating or retaining jobs in our community. I don't think anybody at this point is going to argue back.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council members? You need a public, an opportunity for the public to comment
Yes,
on
Mayor,
this?
if you'd be so kind.
Let's open up to the public. Any members of the public?
Not at this time, Mayor.
So we'll close the public forum, and then let's take the both items in one motion. I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the resolution and authorizing the city manager.
Make a move. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Roll call, please.
Councilmember McKenzie? Councilmember Hudson?
Aye.
Councilmember,
Hope is to get this in by June 1st.
No, I'm going to get it in by June 1st.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
So I got a lot of creative writing to do.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move to comments on closed session items. If you have comments for closed session items, please raise your hand via Zoom. When you call, we ask you to please take the time to unmute and give your name clearly for our recording. You're requested to address your comments to the council and not.
no comments at this time, Mayor.
Okay. With that, we'll move to closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, Title City Manager.
Before we break, I do apologize. After the closed session, the city council will leave the council chambers and meeting will be adjourned by operation of law due to lack of a quorum. If there's any reportable closed session action, a report will be made at the beginning of the next regular council meeting. I ask that after closed session item descriptions are read by the mayor, all members of the council, applicable consultants and staff join the closed session meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What was that all about?
You can leave. We don't have to come back to adjourn.